Well, there is a certain kind of confidence that pops up right before everything falls apart, especially when it comes to DIY projects. And I think we know this, right? Like we've seen the YouTube videos, we've seen this in our own lives, right? Of these DIY disasters. It's the husband who's like, babe, I got this. Like I've watched 3 YouTube tutorial videos. I don't need a contractor. And then all of a sudden he's calling 911 because of a house fire. Or it's the couple who eyes a wall and they're like, I'm pretty sure that's a non-load bearing wall. And then all of a sudden here comes their ceiling in on them. My personal favorite kind of DIY disasters are the cake expectations versus reality. Have you seen these? It's the idea of, hey, somebody's getting a cake for someone they love, maybe a child. And hey, instead of having the professionals bake it, I'm gonna do it myself. Look what DIY did to my girl Ariel. That's a little rough, isn't it? What about Olaf? Right? Like we love Olaf. He's so sweet and he loves warm hugs. But would you want to hug this? I showed this picture to my 2-year-old daughter. She cried because that is nightmare fuel, right? Like there's something powerful in just present in a strong way in this stubborn confidence in that self-sufficient voice that we all hear inside that says, hey, I got this. I don't need help. I'll do it my way. And while most of the time we know the DIY disaster costs us maybe a weekend or a little bit of money, or at the very least like some lost dignity or a traumatized 2-year-old, what happens when that DIY approach, that I'll do it my way, I'll build this myself, I'll decide my own direction, stops being about home improvement or cake baking, and instead becomes the organizing principle behind a culture, or a church, or your relationships, or your life with God? Genesis 11 that we're gonna unpack today is exactly that story. If you have your Bibles, go ahead and turn to Genesis chapter 11. Genesis 11, we're gonna start in verse 1. And as you're turning there, to give you a little context, if you're just jumping in with us, we are in the midst of a 5-month journey through the very first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis. And since chapter 3, where we saw the first man and first woman rebel against God, we have been tracking the downward spiral of humanity into more sin and more tragedy. In fact, if you have your Genesis fill-in-the-blank books, this is your first fill-in-the-blank. Genesis 3 through 11 tracks the downward spiral of humanity into a world marked more and more by tragedy and death. This kind of 8-chapter stretch from 3 to 11, just page after page, we see this, right? Like family is murdering each other in Cain and Abel, and we see violence fill the whole earth. And then last week we saw God send a flood upon the earth. And now on this other side of the flood, humanity is looking to repopulate the earth, and rather than learn from anything up to this point in chapter 11, humanity decides to double down on the DIY approach apart from God.